Coming up, our halftime interview. I believe we're going to go down to the field live. I'm taking a look down there. Looks like Dave is getting Jason down there on the track, right there at the side of the field. And let's go ahead and send it down to Dave Laquetta sitting field with Jason Fiske. What's up, Dave?
Saints, 12 different times he's in the Saints record book. Again, Jason Fiske. I can't go through all these. I'm going to point out a couple. You're first in career receptions, 186. First in receiving yardage for your career, 1,954. And third in all-purpose yardage, 3,143 yards. But, you know, you were one of those building blocks when Coach Uremovich was here. He wanted to get you. You were one of those guys that were the building blocks to turn the program around. What made you decide to make that decision to come to a program that hadn't won and you had a 28-year-old head coach?
Something about the whole coaching staff at that point. Joe Curry, head coach now, Coach Uremovich, Craig Zimmerman, who was here too. All three of them young guys that just had a passion for football. You could tell that they were going to turn the program around because they were that dedicated to the sport, that dedicated to the school. They were just guys that you could tell were very motivated, and it's something I wanted to be a part of.
And you actually came in as a quarterback, but they wanted to use your talent so much, and they used you as a wide receiver, and that wound up being a great move for your career as well.
Yeah, we ended up getting the transfer John Goolsby in, when the coaches talked to me, they said it made us better as a team for me to move to wide receiver. So it was an easy call for me. It didn't really hurt my feelings at all. If it could make our team better and we could start getting some wins, get some in the left-hand column, then it was an easy decision to move to wide receiver.
After all was said and done with your career, were you happy that you made that decision from a football standpoint? Because I know you had many other offers as well.
Yeah, I was. I knew that I could be successful at the NAIA level at quarterback or wide receiver, but I knew deep down that I was a better wide receiver than I was a quarterback and that I was more fit for that position at this level. So I am happy that I eventually was moved there and the coaches made the right decision there.
Let's talk a little bit about your career off the field, which is just as record-setting. You're an accounting major. You got your bachelor's at St. Francis. You got your master's at St. Francis. And then to become a CPA, you have to pass 4 tests. And you passed them all 4 on the first try, which is unbelievable. Only 10% of the people in the world do that. Talk a little bit about your St. Francis education.
Well, one of the things that Coach Uremovich, when I came in, and Joe Curry both, that they really pushed was the education, and that was important. You know, playing at the NAIA level, you don't have much of a shot to go play after college, so what you're really here for is your education, and they really drive that home with their student athletes. They make sure that that's number one. I mean, you're going to enjoy playing football here in college, but ultimately the goal is to get a good job out of college, so they make sure that all the kids concentrate on their studies, and it pays off in the long run if you listen to them.
Talk a little bit about that business major. Obviously, you had some great teachers along the way. You're a smart kid as well, but the instructors that help guide you, again, you talk about the big schools and the business programs and stuff like that. You could have went to bigger schools for your career like that, but what did the instructors at St. Francis do for you to make you so successful out in the business world?
Well, there's something to be said for being in a small school environment. You get more hands-on with your teachers. The accounting program, I know firsthand, Tony Zordon and Sarah Leone, they're 2 of the most unbelievable teachers that I've ever had. I couldn't have asked for better teachers. It's a lot of one-on-one tutoring. It's making sure you're prepared to be successful. They both worked they weren't just teachers, they both worked in the accounting environment too. So they made sure that we were ready when we graduated to move on and get a successful job.
You were one of the guys that emailed me when Coach Uremovich left, and you felt very strongly that Coach Curry, who is now the head football coach of the Saints, should be the next person to take that position. Why did you feel that way? I know he recruited you, but what really was the reason that you felt he should have been the next one in line to take over the program?
Well, every school you go to, you're going to have a head football coach that's passionate about football, but Joe Curry is passionate about St. Francis too. He was a player here. He was here for the rebuilding process. Again, like you said, he was the guy that recruited me and brought me to St. Francis, but you can tell he's not just passionate about football, he's passionate about the university. He wants the football program to be something that University of St. Francis is proud of, that he can hang his head on and say, I played there, I coached there, I helped get us to where we are now, which is a thriving football program.
you're a guy who's out here every week. You know, there's some guys that after they leave the program, they'll check the box score, they'll check the website and stuff like that. When we talked earlier this week, when I asked you to come down for the halftime interview, you said, definitely, I'm always there, and that's the great thing. Why is that for you that you feel you want to be here week in and week out?
I mean, that kind of gets back to why I wanted Joe Curry to be the head coach. He's one that understands what it was, what it took to get the program to where it is now. He's not an outsider coming in. So speaking for me and also some of the alumni that graduated with me, we all like coming back to a program that feels like it's our program. We know that we helped get the program to where it is now, even though we may not have been as successful as they are now. So it's nice to come back and still feel like it's something that we helped build and that we're still a part of, and that knowing that, they couldn't have got to this point without us doing some of the hard work in the past.
It is homecoming week. We're glad to have Jason. He's out here every week, but there's a lot of alums here at St. Francis on homecoming weekend. Jason, talk to me a little bit about your career now, where you're working, and the success you've had with your job.
Well, right out of school, I got my job through another St. Francis alum. She was a softball player here, and she got a job at PBC Advisors. The accounting firm is called out in Oak Brook. And they loved her there. They thought she had a great educational background. She went there right out of school. They were looking for a new accountant at the firm, and they saw my resume and saw St. Francis on it. And to be honest, they saw St. Francis, and they went back to, the girl's name was Jamie. They went back to Jamie, and they said, you had great tutelage at St. Francis. Obviously, they had great teachers there. Is Jason someone that would fit in at our firm? And it was kind of basically the St. Francis name that got me in the door there. So I've been there ever since I graduated, going on my 5-year anniversary now, and kind of moving up the ladder, so everything's going well.
We talked a little bit before about, giving back, coming back for the program, seeing the games, taking part in the program. This past year, you and John Goolsby got together and said, we've got to start giving back a little bit more, and what can we do? And the first thing that you guys wanted to start was a golf outing for the football program. You got about 50 kids this past year. You're feeling that it's going to be even more successful. But again, the part of giving back, is that again a St. Francis thing that you learned at St. Francis?
Yeah, I mean, the program gave so much to us. I was saying my first job I basically got because I had St. Francis on my resume, and the reason that we want to come back and give back to St. Francis is because it led me to that point. It led me to where I'm at now, being successful in my career. So we feel that we owe St. Francis. They don't owe us for anything. They gave us what we have today. So we want to do everything that we can to try to build a stronger alumni association, try to get as many people back as possible, and give as much back as we can.
There you have it. Jason Fiske, so glad to have you with us. Continued success in the business world, and thanks for being part of our program and continuing to be so.
It was a pleasure. Go Saints.
There you have it, Jason Fiske. Gentlemen, back up to you.
Thank you very much, Dave Lacetta. The string of successful former student athletes is very long here at the University of St. Francis. Again, we are about 10 minutes to go till the start of our second half. Saints trail by 1 to Trinity International, 17-16.